Welcome back to the Frith Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Eric. And today we're going over chapters 11 through 15 of Mimic Arcanist. And with that, before we get into today's episode, always do appreciate the like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. We've had 3 new subscribers in the last month, so, I mean, we take all the credit we can get, everything we can get, so do appreciate everybody that subscribed, and hopefully it keeps trending up. Do also want to remind everybody that the link to the Capital Station Discord server, along with the Frith Chronicles Wiki link, is in the description down below. So if you want to continue in on the conversation with others that love what is Shami Stovall's world, not just the Frith Chronicles or anything of that nature, but anything Shami has produced, essentially. So with that, we'll get into today's chapters. I think this is, knowing what happens later on, I think that this is kind of that, I don't say final nail in the coffin of what sets his character arc down the way it does, but it definitely, I think this is definitely the catalyst for it. Hey, I think that's honestly a better use of, even though I didn't find the ore, I think that's a clever and good way to practice his magic. Because that's at the end of the day, that's what this is about. So kudos to you, Raaza. That leads us into chapter 12, the layers of the Abyssal Hells. And I just want to say that this kind of sounds like a cake. This would be a great cake. I'm just saying. Not an onion, but a cake. I'd rather a cake than onion. Yes. Oh, good. Anyways, digressing. So, we have the fire ready to go. We're sitting around the campfire. And Leon pulls out the food, because everybody knows one of the best parts about camping is cooking, and you just get whatever you want. You don't have to worry about calories because they don't count there. Leon, it sounds like my kind of person, and he brings literally all of the proteins. Yep, there's everything. They got goat, beef, lamb, chicken, pork, whatever you want. So as they are getting their fill around the campfire, Twain is acting a little less than gentleman-like. I don't know if you want to say gentleman-like. He's spicy. So he lets out a big old fart. Eggsy gets offended because of the fact that he let a big old fart out. And Twain apologizes. And he says, all the itty bitty pieces of meat make me want to poopy. in the best possible way to just get back at her, and I love it. As soon as Twain isn't a bloated meat wagon, they decide that they're going to have him transform into a nightmare because Soren has mentioned that he found a new ability or innate ability that nightmares have, which is to be able to see at night. Freaking love it. Like, but
for like 3 weeks he's been...
But we got to remember, it took Volk from when he bonded to Luther until they went to the final battle against Ruma before he started seeing in the dark. I don't know, that may be because of his second bonding, but
he's progressing.
So, give Soren some credit. Gray kind of reiterates to Soren what happens. Basically, the whole finding the piece of shard and all that stuff. Nasbit is kind of standing outside of the tent, listening, dropping eaves, and they pull a straight up like Samwise Gamgee Gandalf, pulling him back into the tent. Like, what have you heard? You know, it's a little late to be trimming the hedges and dropping eaves. So Nasbit's flustered, and he makes I can't remember how exactly we make the comment about the Abyssal Hells, but Nasbit does explain that he knows the different levels of the Hells, and essentially that all of them are all souls will always go to the Abyssal Hells. We do kind of get found out that depending on how good or bad you were in life, it kind of depends on what level you go to. And similar to like Dante's Inferno, where the lower the level is, the worse of a person you were, the worse your punishment. In the first layer, this is for the overall good people. Level 1, anybody that is in this level, basically any soul that's in here is reborn as a baby or a star shard or some kind of magical item that is found around. So they are basically... the good people get turned into good things. The second layer is a labyrinth, and that is to keep people from continuing further down. In that evil mystical creatures are born here, but again, this isn't necessarily like an bad layer. Definitely not wanting to be where we are. At least, definitely not wanting to continue further down. In the third layer, that's where the Death Lords come from, and that's where Death Lord Damios came from. This is where the Blackhearts and the scum that are to be grafted into the Abyssal Dragons. In the fourth layer is where the Elder creatures are living. These mystical creatures that are eating souls or basically whole souls instead of being bonded to an Arcanist, getting a little bit little bit by bit. They're consuming the whole soul, and they end up growing into very grotesque things.
Chapter 13 is the fifth abyss. At this point, souls are being destroyed and they become corrupted magic. Soren does ask about their mom. Gray's like, she definitely went first. She was a good person. She was not a Blackheart or a scum.
Like, Soren, please, for the love of God, please do not think that she is there. That is the last place she's going to be.
I know. The working on an island is going to make her, every day putting in work to do her job, provide for her family. Yeah, she's at the first level. Soren does admit that he gave Exi ore, so at this point we have 3 out of the 7 of them that have cheated so far. As they continue on their trip, people don't want to bathe in the river because it's disgusting. Honestly, it's probably a little more disgusting not to do it, but Gray's fine with it. They grew up bathing in cold water, so nothing but a thing to him.
Be a hell of a way to wake up in the morning.
Yeah, you're wide awake. They do find out that they are going to construct a school for the community, and Nasbit also reveals that Helmith is Volk's daughter. So Volk is well known for being the warlord of magic and this connection to her. And once Helmith does arrive, she doesn't really talk about Volk, but she does mention the fragment that Gray found to everybody, so proceed to freak out.
Uh-oh. In chapter 14, Cultivating the Land, we begin to build the schoolhouse. We start to see everybody's unique abilities and magics taking into account and using that in a way in order to construct the schoolhouse. Like, I think Exie was making dots on the boards so that people knew where to hammer the nails into and that kind of thing. So it's a very fun and creative way to use these magics. It gets them to think outside of the box a lot more, and hopefully this is a very good learning experience for all of them. Gray is worried that he doesn't have any magics that he would consider to help cultivate the land, because he borrows everybody else's magic. So I think he has the best magic of them all, because he has all of them. Ashlyn finally realizes why Gray gave her the ore, and essentially she tells him that she doesn't want any more help, so that she has to work harder herself. She doesn't want anything given to her or being easy. And again, strong will. Love to see that Ashlyn is such a strong character in that regard. Fast forward to nearing completion of the schoolhouse. It takes just under a fortnight to complete, and as we're doing our final touches, we have Gray, Soren, and Nini inside the schoolhouse painting the walls. Nini is not doing a very good job with it, as she's getting her sleeves dipped in the paint, and this is where we see Waste come over and give her a hug and merge with her. He helps give her some more dexterity, so like Waste has to have at least like +5 dexterity to him.
I feel like he would also have big sleeves. Like,
I don't think paint would get on his sleeves.
It just goes through it.
Yeah. So, Soren has a similar idea. He's like, well, how about Thurin and I merge as one, and that way we can work together to do this as well. However, Thurin does remind Soren that he's not necessarily like a piece of cloth, he's like a suit of armor, so not as dextile. Soren gives him +5 defense. Waste gives her +5 dexterity. You got to balance it out.
Yeah, you got to know your equipment.
Exactly. However, Thurin does give Soren a good idea about using the shadows to help paint versus Thurin. So he's going to start using his shadow tendrils to paint to get exercise. Exie comes in, and everybody knows this prior to seeing her or hearing her because they can smell her. Big stretch from O'Malley.
The most cat thing to happen. Oh, you have camera?
Oh. He's been laying in front of me, like, clawing at my hand, so... But again, we can smell Exie way before we know that her presence is there, just because I imagine she smells like a teenage locker room after gym class, where it is stinky, but everybody's trying to just cover it up with a bunch of Axe body spray and perfume, and ugh. She asks Soren for help, and we're not sure what this is about, but before we can find out, Professor Helmith comes in and asks to take Nini and Gray out for their Cultivating the Land class. And of course, what better place to take Waste is to a graveyard. Like, did we not learn anything about the ore when we're searching for the ore, and then now we're just going to do another horror movie thing, go to a graveyard?
It brings us to chapter 15, Graveyard Woes. So they are in the graveyard. I did think it's kind of funny that Volk is a gravekeeper, therefore Helmith is the daughter of a gravekeeper, and she is teaching people to tend graves by having them pick weeds. And I was like, it's such a nice little circle.
I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
They're all connected to the graves, apparently. So,
I guess so.
Nini, while they are tending to the graves, she does confess that she's worried that Soren likes Exie, so we do get a little bit of some jealousy from her. She's also worried that just in general she's a bad omen, but Gray reassures her that this isn't the case. He's, from his perspective, Soren also could have bonded with Lace, so that alone does not make her good or bad. It's about what she does with, the kind of person she actually is. Gray also does sense more threads of magic, so this is very similar to when they're out looking for war. There's threads that start appearing, but they don't actually tie to anything, so likely this is another gate thread.
Dun dun dun! And with that, with that ends the section of chapters. I swear, Shammy wrote these books with the anticipation of somebody going 5 chapters at a time. Just saying. It seems like, yeah. It seems natural that every 5 chapters she's got some kind of cliffhanger and we get to end it on a cliffhanger every time. It's not even intentional. But with that ends this week's episodes. Scott, do you have anything you'd like to add today?
No, we are quickly making our way through the book, though. It's crazy. We are fast approaching halfway.
Hey, we're actually further, within the timeline of what's going on. They have actually made the same amount of progress in these 15 chapters than the entirety of the Academy. But granted, we're not talking about when Gray was on the island still, from when he got to the Academy to not bragging on it. I'm just saying. With that ends the episode. I hope you guys have a good week, and we'll catch you next week.